Oh, I am a Liverpudlian, and I come from the Spion Cup. I love to sing, I love to shout, I get thrown out quite a lot. We support the team that's dressed in red. It's a team that you all know. It's a team that we call Liverpool, and to glory we will go. We've won the league.
Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to the Plastic Scousers podcast. My name is Matt Simpson, and this is my co-host, a man whose trip to the Marshall Islands was cut short quite dramatically in a badger-related accident. It's Owen Collins.
Yes, good evening and good afternoon and good morning and happy lunchtime to all our listeners. My name is Owen Collins, and as Matt touched upon there, I've had a dreadful spell of illness and injury out in Micronesia lately. Apologies for the delay in this podcast reaching you, but I was on a fact-finding mission trying to establish a sort of entente cordiale with the Marshall Islands Football Association. That's a tricky one, and yes, sadly, I won't go into too much details because I'm still finding it quite traumatic, and my physiotherapist has said that it's best to just focus on growing back my ankle. But basically, the badgers over there are not like your common old garden badgers that you have here, or that you often see just harmlessly dead in the middle of an A road. They are quite ferocious beasts. We would think of them in this country more like a striped horse, not a zebra per se, but more of just sort of one stripe, a bit like a skunk crossed with a stallion, with all the risks that such a being would present. And well, as I say, I'm sure you can imagine what happened when I got on the wrong side of one of those. Literally got on the wrong side of it. And let me just say, if you're living anywhere in sort of a Micronesia, Polynesia, Kiribati area, and you happen to find a stirrup still with a left foot in it, please do send it here at Plastic Scousers Towers.
Yes, if you live within the several thousand miles that covers those particular island nations, please do let us know.
I've got to be hopeful, Matt. I've got to be hopeful.
As we enter a new year of many unknowns in these tumultuous times, we here at the Plastic Scousers are here to bring you some light relief in the form of insightful and irreverent football chat. We've got all the games, goals and talking points from Liverpool's month in January. Yes, that's right, January, as the season hots up while the temperatures plummet.
That line's not aged well. As well as that, there's another of our infamous travel guides as the squad take a winter break in a rather glamorous foreign city, and we shout at each other about the vital topics of football today. But before all of that, let's do something slightly different to normal and start with the football. It's not a happy start to the month, is it?
I mean, to be fair, to start 2019 with this fixture, it couldn't have been any worse, really. We're away to probably the best team in the world right now in Manchester City at the Etihad.
Yeah, we should say, because December feels like a long time ago, but we're coming into the back of this on a remarkable run of form. We didn't drop a point in December. We're top of the league by 7 points, with the opportunity to go 10 points clear. 10 points clear out of the top of the league, with Man City still the best team in the world. It's a remarkable proposition, and it's almost not a distraction, but it's basically that something's going to go wrong, really, don't you, with that? We're still unbeaten at this point as well, of course.
It's very true, yeah. We've gone a whole, the second half of 2018, the whole first half of the season unbeaten. Not lost a single game. And as you say, I mean, even a draw in this game would keep us 7 clear, and that would be remarkable.
It's a real 6-pointer, isn't it? Like, in the purest sense of the term.
It is a case of either we get away and the title is all but ours, or Man City claw it back and, regain some impetus. And it meant that we needed to put out the strongest lineup, as you'd probably expect. Although, as we mentioned last month, we ended up, and the month before, in fact, for many months, we saw the industrious and not necessarily very creative midfield of Wijnaldum, Milner and Henderson, which, was an ominous sign for me personally.
Yeah, we've mentioned a few times this season that's a good trio, but maybe not one for the biggest stages. And so it proved, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it started out fairly even. You'd expect Man City, who were right up for this game, as you'd probably expect. In fact, the one time, the empty had looked like it had people in it. But it was very much, quite an even contest. They were creating chances. We looked dangerous. And it was almost us that broke the deadlock. I mean, and it was literally millimetres away, which which could have made the difference.
Yeah, I think it was Sadio Mane, wasn't it?
Yeah, he sort of came through a ball pass through from Firmino. Mane sort of gets onto it and chips it over, and it hits the post, and it's agonisingly rolls across the line. And most people think it's in, but it wasn't by about
I think it was about 2 centimetres, wasn't it?
I mean, you think without goal line technology that could have been given.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bit of a shambles, really, because it did go off both posts and was still like 2 centimetres away from being in, having bounced off both posts and a couple of Man City players.
Extraordinary.
Yeah. What could have been, really?
Yeah, I mean, if we look back on the season, on a season that might have been, we could look at that moment and go, "That's how close we were."
Yeah,
that's the worry.
I mean, and I am worried. I'm worried at that because we'll come to what happened in the rest of the game. But I'm worried that was the turning point of our season. That we were, you look at 2013-14 season. And the the slip from Steven Gerrard in the Chelsea game, and how it was that sort of one moment that cost us a title. And I worry that this could be the same, that we could be literally 2 centimetres away from winning the title this season.
Yeah, well, there's still a long way to go, so that'll only be discussed in hindsight. However, it was unfortunately Man City who took the lead. 5 minutes before half time, having gained quite a bit of momentum and put us quite on the back foot by this stage. They were playing the better football. Disappointing defensively. Dan Lovren lets kind of Sergio Aguero go. Trent Alexander-Arnold gets, Bernardo Silva gets past him. Aguero turns, slams it in. I don't know if Alisson can really do much about it, but it is right at his near post. Either way, he always bloody scores against us at the Etihad.
Yeah, why break the habit of a lifetime? It had a sort of grim inevitability to it, really, didn't it? Poor defensive work, really, from Alexander-Arnold. And Lovren, but that's less surprising in a big game. But it was a real shame, and it's just before half-time as well, and a really demoralising goal to concede on a number of levels. But, we weren't fully expecting to go to the Etihad and get a clean sheet, so there's reasons to kind of think, okay, halfway there, game of 2 halves, etc.
Exactly, it's only 1-0, and it's only 1-0.
Yeah, and in the second half, we came out with a bit of sort of renewed vigour, really, didn't we?
Yeah, we upped the ante a little bit, and I certainly think there's we created a chance, a few chances, and Man City really had to do good defensive work, which to their credit they did. But eventually, just after the hour mark, we finally found the breakthrough. It was a brilliant swing ball across from Trent Alexander-Arnold on the volley run from Andrew Robertson, and Firmino loses the marker and heads in from a couple of yards out to put us back on level pegging.
A nice low header as well. A nice sort of diving header. You don't see enough of those in the game these days. Proper diving headers, proper almost fly along the floor to get your head on it. It was a satisfying goal. As you say, great build up from Robertson. Another assist for him. It was well taken. It was, and it could have maybe done to have been slightly earlier, but it came at the right time, gave us plenty of time to use it as a sort of springboard and push on.
I mean, to be fair, having been behind, with 1-0, and particularly City were playing pretty well, I certainly would have taken it at that point.
Yeah, I think I would. And especially as the match went on, I became more and more convinced that I would have taken a draw, but that was only because we ended up conceding again.
Yeah, this time it's a brilliant finish from Leroy Sane after a good break from City. Puts it right in the corner. Alisson has no chance. City take the lead. First time this season we've conceded twice in the Premier League. Remarkably, and we've played half a season already.
I mean, that is remarkable.
And if there's any team you're going to do it against, it's going to be Man City. Yeah, we're behind again, and we are back chasing the game. And it's not easy.
It's not easy. What's really annoying about this goal is that it just proves the thing about the turning points for tiny margins that make up history. Sane's goal came off a post and went in. Mane's goal came off a post and was 2 centimetres away from being in. And it's like we really have been denied in this game by the most minuscule of margins. I mean, there's even only like one letter difference between Mane and Sane. That's what we're talking about here. I mean, I feel that's relevant in terms of talking about very small changes. I'm not fully sure why, but I feel it's relevant and worth mentioning. And this is what I mean when I say, as the game went on, I would have taken the draw, and we looked like we might get there. We were quite dangerous going forwards at this point. We were throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it in the last 10, 20 minutes of the game, but yeah, I don't think I need to point out to our listeners that it was not to be.
No, and it's our first defeat in the league all season, and it's Man City closed the gap on us to 4 points. But if we look at it the other way, if you're going to lose once all season away at the Etihad, isn't exactly a bad place. And we're still 4 points ahead of them, and we don't have to play them again.
No, true. Except maybe in the FA Cup, but you never know. But it's just, it's ironic, not ironic, but it's interesting, really, that last season Man City were unbeaten all the way until January, and we were the team to finally defeat them. This year the boot was on completely the other foot, and last year Man City went on to win the title, so that bodes well. But then you think that when we actually ended their unbeaten record, they were about 14 points ahead of second place, whereas now we're down to 4. And well, it's just this is why they call them 6-pointers, isn't it? Because it's such a massive disparity between where we are, which is still a decent position. 4-point lead at the top of the table, having played Man City twice. But it could have been 10-point lead, having played Man City twice, and that does feel unassailable. Whereas now you worry the doubt's going to start creeping in, that air of invincibility is going to leave you, and it's just that momentum's come to a juddering halt, and it's a really dangerous position to be in psychologically, I think.
I think it is, yeah. But at least temporarily, we don't have to worry about that too much because, as you just mentioned, the FA Cup began, as it always does, in early January. And Jurgen Klopp seems to have a relationship to it akin to some sort of mistress he has, where he fleetingly sees it, has a wonderful time, and then sods off and doesn't hear from it till next year. And so once again, we find ourselves in the FA Cup third round, playing another team beginning with W.
Yeah, so just to remind listeners, but our record in the FA Cup so far under Jurgen Klopp has been: we went out to West Ham in his first season, we went out to West Brom in his second season. Is that it?
No, it was West Ham, Wolves, West Brom.
That was it. Yeah,
and now we're playing Wolves again.
Yeah, so. And so we don't need to tell you what's going to happen because it's Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool playing a team that begins with a W in the FA Cup. The only surprise for me is that we didn't win this game and then lose to Watford in the next round. But there we go. There's always next season.
Well, yeah, but let's talk about this anyway because there's no end of talking points. One of the major issues we had at this was we were very quickly running out of centre backs.
Yes, yeah, we should. You think we're on out of centre backs now? Yeah, obviously we've lost Gomez already earlier in this season. Matip is also injured after the Napoli game. Clavan is now playing his football in Italy. Kolo Touré is retired. No one knows what happened to Soterios Kyrgiakos. Virgil van Dijk he's injured as well, isn't he?
Well, no, Virgil van Dijk was rested from this game.
Yes.
And right. So the starting lineup was Dejan Lovren and a first chance at centre back for Fabinho, who's becoming one hell of a utility player for us.
Yeah, he's sort of becoming a Brazilian James Milner. James Milner, who ended up playing at right back in this game. As if to underline that point. It was a notable lineup for a couple of other reasons, wasn't it?
Certainly, a couple of youngsters got their first starts in Curtis Jones and Rafa Camacho.
Yeah, they've been on they've not been on the fringes of first team really. They've been in the first team squad all season, having first kind of stepped up to Melwood at the end of last season. They were both on the bench for that turgid 0-0 Merseyside derby in April last year. They were both heavily involved in pre-season. They've both been on the bench already this season, but never played. And it's nice to finally see them kind of make that progression, not just through the ranks of the academy, but from kind of unused sub to training with first team in matchday squad, unused sub on the bench, and now finally actually making their full debut. And just in terms of shirt number statistics, we've got 48 for Curtis Jones, which was last worn by Jerome Sinclair, who enjoyed an illustrious, albeit record-breaking career with Liverpool. And Rafa Camacho was 64, which has only ever been worn once in a Liverpool by a Liverpool player. And Matt, you know who that was, don't you?
Sergi Canos.
Sergi Canos against Norwich at the end of the 2015-16 season, I think. Was it Norwich?
I believe it was West Brom, wasn't it?
West Brom. Yeah, he then went on to play for Norwich. But almost more excitement was actually on the bench, where we saw 3 new players added to the ranks of official Liverpool matchday squad history. Quaveen Kelleher, again, been sort of in training with first team all season, was heavily involved last summer, finally makes a bench. Isaac Christie-Davies, who we signed from Chelsea. And other than that, and the fact his name is Isaac Christie-Davies, I know absolutely nothing about him. And Kiana Hoover, who there's been a lot of excitement about, hasn't there?
Yeah, so we signed him from, I think, the Ajax Academy. Just very recently, actually. He sort of joined us as a 15-year-old, only recently just turned 16. And yeah, there's a lot of excitement around him. And with our defensive issues, with Virgil van Dijk rested, Klopp thought, why not? He's a right back. He's a centre back who can also play right back. Why not? Why not put him on the bench? Yeah,
it's. I've never seen a rise like it really, from signing to under 18s to under 23s to training with first team to in the first team squad in the space of 6 months is remarkable. And really, it's only from there to making his debut to go. And that would be almost a step too far, wouldn't it, Matt?
It's a remarkable first 5 minutes of this game.
Yeah.
Because with a back five, I'm just going to read off the back five. Simon Mignolet, who was in goal. Alisson, another one rested. Alberto Moreno at left back, so I'm going to concede. What a shame. Dejan Lovren and Fabinho at centre half. And Rafa Camacho at right back, who is nominally a right winger.
Oh, of course, yeah. Camacho was right back, wasn't he?
Yeah, James Milner played midfield. Yeah, I didn't want to correct you, but yeah. There we go.
Playing the long game there.
Playing the long game. To be fair, I missed it. You said that, and then I realised. Yeah, because Curtis Jones played left wing as well. Bit weird. But yes, with that as a back four, so essentially two midfielders in that back four, and the most experienced defender of the lot in 6 minutes pulls up with, I think it's a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
And you're sort of looking at the bench going, well, Trent Alexander-Arnold's on the bench, so you think, okay, maybe he could go, I don't know, maybe Milner could go at centre back and he could come in the mid maybe, I don't know. I can't work out what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, you think you're thinking, could Camacho move up into midfield, Milner go centre back, Trent come on for, but yeah.
What actually happened? We sent on the 16-year-old.
Yeah, we sent on Kiana Hoover for his debut, and that remarkable, quite literally meteoric rise through the ranks is completed, and he's suddenly a first teamer. And I mean, what the hell is going on? Like, what the hell is going on? He's a player who has never even been in a matchday squad before. Most people have never heard of him.
He was born in 2002, just to clear that up.
He was born in 2002.
Like, that's unbelievable. I was 11 years old.
I was 10. I was 10 when he was born. I can remember football games that were happening when he was born.
I can remember football games that happened 5 years before he was born.
Well, yeah, I can, but I mean, like, I can remember sort of in like forensic detail, like like I had a Liverpool calendar on which you could draw the day that Kiana Hoover was born. Yep.
And now he's
playing. We're so old, Matt.
We are so old. What's most remarkable is like the one position. There's the two most significant positions where youngsters never play games because it's too much responsibility. Is goalkeeper and centre back, and he's straight in at centre back.
Yeah. He's also. Do you want my two sort of brief Kiana Hoover factoids?
I would love a Kiana Hoover factoid.
Okay, well, I'll pepper them throughout this match report. I won't blow them all at once. As we've mentioned his birth year, I can tell you that because of this game, and not just because of him, but because of his teammates in this game, there's now been a Liverpool player that was born in each of the 110 years between 2002 and the foundation of the club in 1892.
Who was 2001?
Curtis Jones.
Oh, wow.
And Rafa Camacho, who in terms of chronology actually becomes the first player to play for Liverpool born in the 21st century, even though he started at the same time as Curtis Jones, who was born a year later, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kiana Hoover, I believe, is the first Liverpool player born in a post 9/11 world.
Blimey.
That's a sobering thought.
That's terrifying. So Kiana Hoover is on after 6 minutes. And I mean, unsurprisingly, when you consider the raft of changes, with Sturridge and Origi both playing and Shaqiri, and it's a very, very disjointed performance. And I mean, Wolves look the better side, who are playing basically one of their strongest sides.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I don't know their regular side well enough to know who they've rested, really. All I know is that John Ruddy, who was put to the sword by Luis Suarez a few years ago when he was Norwich goalkeeper, is back from some obscure loan deal he had with Wolves and is in between the six of them tonight. But otherwise, it's a pretty strong side, like you say. So it's a bit of a mismatched contest immediately, really, isn't it?
It is, and when you think of how mad our back four now is, with what essentially amounts to two midfielders, a 16-year-old and Alberto Moreno. It's amazing that it took this long to concede, but unfortunately, after actually not being too bad for the first sort of half hour, 35 minutes, it's actually a mistake from the most experienced man on the pitch in James Milner, who loses the ball in midfield, and then it's played through to Raul Jimenez, who runs through and finishes it.
Yeah. I mean, you got a sense of just how inexperienced our defence was by just what an enormous amount of space there was for Jimenez to run into once he sort of dispossessed Milner in midfield. I mean, in fairness to him, he carries that ball a long way. It was basically within the centre circle when Milner lost it. It's really subpar from Milner, the captain, which is not something you can say often. But then you can't often say that Alberto Moreno is probably your most naturally gifted defender either. So it's a night of... in fact, actually looking at Kiana Hoover's performance, you might argue you couldn't even say that tonight. But yeah, it's a disappointing goal to concede just for half-time. But perhaps not massively against the run of play.
No, I mean, it could easily be more, would you say, with how all exposed and all over the place we were and how little creativity we had going forward. Second half, actually, we do come out a bit stronger. We do start to create a bit more pressure, put a bit more, step forward in the game a bit more. And just after half time, actually, we sort of equalise. And it's, not a source of goals we have not really been seen recently, apart from one unbelievable moment.
Yeah, it's Divock Origi, who is kind of enjoying this very strange semi-renaissance quite late into, presumably quite late into his Liverpool career. Ball forced him sort of on the edge of the area, really, on the right-hand side. And he just absolutely wallops it. It's a proper kind of... It's an FA Cup goal, but more of a sort of FA Cup kind of first round, maybe fourth qualifying round goal. Sort of televised on the BBC on a Sunday afternoon, Harrogate Railway versus Prescott Cables. Or, Stalybridge Celtic versus Chasetown. And it's... you get this... It's that proper just kind of, there's a goal, all almost sort of stationary, wallop, kind of... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's it's a great strike, and you sort of think, okay, 1-1. Well, I mean, we're still looking defensively quite nervy, but understandably. But when you look, actually, we've got the front three on the bench. Maybe now it's time to sort of throw them on and maybe turn the game on its head a bit. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to do that because they scored again 4 minutes later.
Yeah, they came straight back into it. Wolves, in fairness, Nuno Espirito Santo's building a very energetic and very passionate team. And even with, not their first choice out, it's quite a strong unit that we're up against. And there's some great team play in the build-up here before it falls to Ruben Neves. Again, sort of not a bit further back than Origi was, bit more central. I think it's with his left foot and just unleashes it. And in fairness to our defence, if you can call it that. In fairness to the 4 people we've got playing furthest back but not in goal, there's not much they can do with it. It's 30 yards out. It's a fantastic strike. You kind of got to applaud. You've got to hold your hands up and simultaneously applaud, if that's not a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, you're right. And we're 2-1 down, and it takes another 15 minutes before we decide to throw on the cavalry, and Firmino and Salah are both on, which does improve the side, understandably dramatically. But unfortunately, it's not really enough. We'll see the game out. As we mentioned earlier, we are out of the FA Cup again early on to another key beginning with W.
Yeah, and Firmino has now played every game this season.
The only players who have done.
This was going to be this is going to be the first game he missed, but no, he ended up playing. And likewise, Mo Salah has still never been an unused substitute in his Liverpool career.
That's an amazing fact.
Yeah, thank you. He's missed games before, but he's never sat on the bench for a whole game. He's always been called on at some point if he's been named in the substitutes. Which is actually quite a damning statistic if you think that we tend to put him on the bench for cup games against weaker opposition and invariably have to bring him on. It's not great. No. But
what's your other key Anahova fact?
Well, he's actually... I've got a couple, but I'll sort of roll them into one because some of them are more well-known than others. He's our youngest ever FA Cup player, which was mentioned quite a lot in the wake of the game because we were all looking desperately for some positive. And actually his performance, I will say, was a real positive. He was a composed, calm performance far beyond his years. But he's actually, what didn't get mentioned nearly enough was he's the first ever player to wear the number 51 shirt for Liverpool in a competitive fixture.
After Lloyd Jones, who was on the bench but never made an appearance.
He was on the bench against Fulham in March 2013. I think it was actually a day you and I were having lunch together in the Crown in Egham, as I remember it.
That must have been lovely, darling.
Yeah, no, it was. It was with Jeff Williams, I think. There's a blast from the past. But, so Lloyd Jones wore it on the bench, wore it in a friendly, never actually made it onto the pitch in a first-team fixture. Key Anahova has now done what Lloyd Jones couldn't, and indeed what most people couldn't, including Uri. And so, yeah, a little fact for you there. Also, it was the 51st minute in which Origi scored, so 51 is clearly the number of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, we're now out of both domestic competitions at the first stage. Admittedly, having had not the easiest draws at home to Chelsea and away to Wolves, but even so, still massively disappointing. And it's starting to look a little bit like the January curse strikes Klopp yet again, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've now not won all year.
No, but this happens every year.
I mean, it does happen every year, but it's never. Yeah, it never gets any better.
It's just something about January that Jurgen Klopp doesn't like. And so we head into the next game now, with obviously having had a huge amount of players rested. Looking at that Premier League, having lost for the first time, and we've not got an easy tie here because we're heading to the South Coast.
Yeah, we're heading to the Amex for a game with Brighton and Hove Albion, and it's funny, you mentioned hindsight earlier, and now you're thinking, God, if we don't get a win here, we're really in trouble. And we've suddenly lost all our momentum. And you think, given that we went out of the cup anyway, would it have made more sense for Klopp to play a full strength side and stay in the cup and keep that momentum up? And basically every decision starts to come under the microscope. So yeah, a lot riding on this one, a lot of pressure, and we saw for the most part a return to our strongest lineup. Alisson and Van Dijk and Robertson, and indeed Trent Alexander-Arnold were all back in defence alongside Fabinho. Matip made the bench but wasn't well enough to actually start. And it was a midfield three of Shaqiri, Henderson and Wijnaldum. Yeah,
Shaqiri played. We played two in midfield and Shaqiri played further forward. So we were definitely, definitely going for this one. I mean, but on the balance of the first half, you couldn't tell because it was very uneventful.
Yeah, I don't have too many memories of this game other than it being a fairly drab affair, really.
Yeah, we really lacked spark and creativity. Brighton, to their enormous credit, defended extremely well, as they did at Anfield, to be fair. And made life very difficult for us, whilst, still threatening themselves. And I mean, there's very little to say about it, to be honest.
Yeah, so there's so little to say that I'm reduced to delving into the world of linguistics and typography to bring you what I think might be my favourite ever Liverpool related fact.
In a game like this, I mean, that's going to have some gravitas.
Yeah, and in a game like this, you can already tell that it's going to be a very, very boring fact. How familiar are you with the German language, Matt?
Sprechen Sie Deutsche?
Nein,
meins and neither.
Lichten, but no, I don't know if you ever did German at school or
no. I'm afraid my extensive knowledge of German is nothing but Rammstein lyrics. So
fair enough. Well, the German alphabet is broadly the same as the English alphabet, with the addition of 4 extra characters, which is an A with an umlaut, an E with an umlaut, an O with an umlaut, and now I think of it as a U with an umlaut as well, and what's called a Scharfes S, which is like a funny sort of, almost like a capital B to denote when it was 2 S's used consecutively.
Okay, now I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, and actually we're playing Pascal Gross, whose name ends in a Scharfes S, Davy Pröper with an O with an umlaut, Jürgen Locadia with a U with an umlaut, and Gaetan Bong, who's got an E with an umlaut, which I think this must be the first time we've ever played a team which has got 4 players with 4 characters not in the English alphabet.
I disagree. There's 5 because Martin Montoya, the Iron Martin Montoya, their fullback, is an accented I.
It has got a little, what's that? An I?
Spanish accented I.
I acute, yeah.
Martin.
Which I did notice. I was gonna try and keep it German, because I don't know what the I with an accent is called other than an I with a little hat.
It's like a quiff.
It's a quiff. It's an Elvis I. It's sort of We'll go with that. It's an Elvis eye.
It's still significant, though.
Yeah, true. It's really annoying actually. We're not playing someone with an A, with an umlaut in their name, and I'm really keen now to find out if there is one, ever that we've played. Do you want to tell us about the actual goal we scored in this game?
I will, because it involves one of the players you previously mentioned, in Pascal Gross, or whatever. What was it called? An S for the thing you want to.
Scharfes S. It is pronounced gross. Still, it's just.
It is, and they spell it GROSS on his shirt because they don't print the letter.
See, that's just lazy. That's almost racist.
It does. Yeah, it feels quite Brexit Britain, doesn't that?
It does. Brexit Brighton.
But,
ironically.
Yeah, he gives away a foul on a player who has won a controversial penalty or two this season in Mo Salah. Except this one, it is a foul. He, clears him out. It's unarguable, really. And then Salah steps up and finishes it and scores what turns out to be the only goal in the game. Because for the rest of it, we were workmanlike and efficient. Brighton tried to come out a bit more, but didn't really have a lot of opportunities. We struggled once again to create, but ultimately it didn't particularly matter. A professional and hard-working 3 points, and whilst the performance wasn't perfect, it was nice to get back on track and keep our 4-point lead at the top of the league.
Yeah, I agree, and it was nice to be able to talk about so many different, non-Roman alphabet characters. I mean, it's funny because we were talking about Quiche just now. And I didn't mention this at the time because there were more important things to talk about. But that Wolves game, there's been very few Liverpool players with hyphens in their name. And then, we saw 3 on the bench in one game against Wolves, and Alexander Arnold, Isaac Christie-Davis and Quiche. Now, if you imagine for a second that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain had been fit enough to make the bench as well, I mean, that's just mental.
But what's interesting is Quiche may be the first Liverpool player ever to have 2 first names hyphenated.
No, I don't think he is.
No?
El Hadji Diouf.
Oh, good point, yeah.
Yeah. The debate rages, actually, about where you put the hyphen in Florent Cinema Pongol, if indeed he's got one.
I thought, it's not. Florent is his first name, so it would be Cinema Pongol with a hyphen or without.
But I think Cinema might be his middle name, or at least he's got 2 surnames.
I think it's 2 surnames, I'm pretty certain.
But I don't think they're hyphenated.
Well, then it's a moot point.
Weirdly, though, his middle name is actually Stefan, with an accent on the E.
Oh, there we go.
They're everywhere, these people. They're everywhere.
Yeah, these humans with their names.
These humans with their names that aren't English.
Yeah. God. We invented the Roman alphabet. We'll tell you how to use it.
It's a good British Roman alphabet.
Dear me. That really makes you laugh. Right. Let's move on, because that game was dull. That was the best thing about it. So yeah. No, this one's a lot more interesting. Let's talk about this one. This one's great. We return home for the first time this month. To a team who have caused us problems in the past, and a manager we remember, not necessarily fondly, but we remember. Crystal Palace are in town.
Yeah, and we shouldn't underestimate them because they actually took points off Man City earlier this season.
They won at the Etihad incredibly.
Well, that's what I mean. Took points off them. Yeah. And, I think that was the most popular thing Roy Hodgson's ever done for Liverpool, including his 6 months at the club. Where do you start with this game? This was a weird one, wasn't it?
Well, we start by mentioning Joel Matip, who I've mentioned, it started this game. James Milner moved to right back. Trent was actually unfit to play this game. Oh, I hadn't mentioned this before. Trent played the whole last game injured.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, because he got injured in the warm-up, then played the whole 90 minutes, and then they realised he shouldn't have played.
Yeah, that's probably a more interesting fact than most of the facts we talked about. But
oh, I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah, but either way, he was out and would be out for a few games after this, unfortunately. So James Milner went in at right back to face Will Zaha. Oh, the joy! One of the most dangerous players outside the top 6. Oh yeah. Well. And then we saw Fabinho move back into a natural midfield role, along with Cater and Henderson, and then the front 3. it's a dangerous lineup, and actually it looks quite good. And I see Casey playing, certainly, for sure, and Fabinho back in his more natural role. As mentioned, he's really stepped up when it mattered. I mean, I didn't, mention this during the Wolves game, but I think he did one hell of a job playing out of position as the senior player against Wolves. It was quite incredible.
He was best defender that day.
And out of position with two kids either side of you. And Alberto Moreno. It's like 3 kids around you. It's like, you have to admit that's an incredible thing to do. And so, it fast becoming a real kind of necessary part of this team. So, let's talk about this game. And it's a game reminiscent of last season more than this, I think. In that it was just mad. Certainly the second half. The first half was actually quite consistent. We did create most of the chances, had most of the control, but they were extremely well organised and hard to break down. And so it was against the run of play that we fall behind.
And I can't remember the goals too well in this game.
There's a lot of them.
Because there were so many of them. So bear with me 1 second.
He's going to go and quietly watch them. Listeners.
You know what we should do? We should do 1 month is live commentary.
But it's a podcast. How to do it live?
Yeah. We could do like a special edition. But anyway, the ball cuts in from the left hand side. I'm not sure who it is that feeds it in. Is it Zaha?
It's Wolf Zaha, yeah.
Wolf Zaha to Andros Townsend, of all people. This is after about half an hour. Who, I mean, it's defensive. It's bad defensively because Townsend's there and no one can really, no one's on him. And he just kind of slots it in left-footed.
Under Allison.
It's Fabinho actually who's kind of tracking him, which is ironic given everything we just said about him. But under Allison, and Palace are 1-0 up and go in at half time 1-0 up.
They do, and that's just before we do go into half time. We have to mention, because we've just talked about Mo Salah earning a penalty. He's been getting a little bit of reputation recently for diving, and in this game he dives to try and win a penalty. He doesn't. He's very lucky to get away with that yellow card. But the Palace players aren't very happy with him about it. And for God's sake, man, he's too good. Why do it? Do you know what I mean? I don't understand.
Yeah.
You don't need to be diving. You're not a Man United player. You don't need to be diving around to try and earn a penalty. You're better than that.
Yeah, it's distressing. It's upsetting to see him tarnish his own reputation in the way that he's doing like that.
That's it. It's totally unnecessary.
And it's just damaging long term. It's really damaging.
So hopefully he may have learnt his lesson a little bit about that. But I guess we'll see that later on. Going 1-0 down, half time, struggling to break them down. We need a good start to the second half, and that is exactly what we got. Yeah,
I mean, straight away, really, wasn't it? Van Dijk picked the ball up in the middle of a park, fired in some, I don't know if it was a shot or a cross.
It was a bit of a nothing shot, really.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen before what glory can come from the nothing shots of Virgil van Dijk, as we saw in the Merseyside derby. It bounces off Palace defender, I'm not sure who, kind of loops up in the air. It's not too dissimilar to the Everton thing, really. And instead of Divock Origi being there, it's the poor man's Divock Origi, Mo Salah.
It's a great finish, this.
Great finish with sort of outside of his foot, sort of on the twist. We should mention as well, Julian Speroni's playing for Crystal Palace in goal, despite being about 70.
Yeah, because their first two first choice goalkeepers, Hennessy and Guaita, are both injured. So he stepped in.
He stepped in, and he has a bit of a nightmare here, let's be honest, because sort of Salah's right in front of him and managed to do.
Yeah, you'd expect most top quality goalkeepers to catch that or almost take control of that.
Yeah, but he doesn't, and it's to our benefit. And Salah punts it in. Maybe punt is unfair.
It's a great controlled volley over the top of his shoulder.
Yeah, it's a volley with sort of outside of his foot. It's very well done. And we're straight back in it.
Just what we needed after half time. And it didn't take us long to take the lead. Bobby Firmino, some brilliant footwork in the middle of the park, having picked up the ball from Naby Keita, slipped him in. A couple of twists and turns, takes a shot, sort of a slight scuff, slight deflection on it, but it spins right into the bottom corner, and we don't care, we're ahead.
Yeah, it's just beyond the reach of Speroni, really. It's a bit of a scuff. It seems to slow down as it goes in, but, it's gone in by that point. There's some wonderful, sort of bizarre... Well, I know, I just remembered what it is. It's the celebration with him and Fabinho. Do you remember this?
Some sort of samba dance thing with like a crocodile mouth thing.
Well, it was Baby Shark, apparently.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, right? Because my missus used to work in a school, and she was always singing Baby Shark with the kids, and this was like 4 years ago, and I'd never heard it before, and she just occasionally we used to randomly sing it. Like when we would be just driving and stuff, it was a bit strange, and I'd like, what the hell is this? And then all of a sudden, one day, like it's everywhere. And I'm like, whoa! This song you keep singing. Suddenly, the whole planet is singing Baby Shark. And I wasn't sure what was going on, and it turns out some Chinese kid with a piano. I think.
Yeah, some sort of Korean company, I think, or something. Korean. Done like a remix of it, and then it exploded on YouTube.
It's bizarre. Anyway, and now Fabinho and Firmino are celebrating with it at Anfield. So it's peaked, I think.
Peak Shark.
Peak Shark.
Peak Shark. There we go. 2-1. You're thinking, right? We've turned this game around quite quickly. Now we need to sort of get control of it. And the defensive record we've had this season. The fact we only not conceded more than 2 goals in any game up until Man City. You think, well, statistically this is over, but certainly. The way that Crystal Palace have been playing, we should have this game wrapped up. Yeah.
It wasn't quite that straightforward, was it?
Blimey, no, it wasn't.
Blimey, no. Is it Zaha again out on the left-hand side?
No, it's a corner. It's a corner. Whipped in from Luka Milivojevic. And James Tompkins gets above everybody and nods it in quite easily.
Yeah, right to left across the goal. I mean, you could say that Alisson should have got to it, really, but nobody was really expecting it as a thing.
It was just and the defence didn't really jump for it. It's a bit weak. It's not really like us, do you know what I mean?
No, it's in the same way that Firmino's shot was actually quite weak, that put us ahead. This is a sort of weak goal to concede as well, and it seems like there's some very dynamic football going on, but the actual goals being scored are incredibly sort of soft.
Poor defensive work, I'm afraid. And we've conceded twice at home for the first time in about a year. Certainly in the league. We've got all the work to do again. And then we're given a gift.
We are given a gift, and again, it's a bit like the Merseyside derby again. Is it Fabinho sends it across the field?
It's a brilliant cross-field ball from Fabinho. James Milner from right back on the run. Gets it, sort of keeps it in on the volley. Just not necessarily trying to pick anyone out, just trying to recycle the play. I
mean, Salah's kind of running in there, but it's nowhere near Salah. Straight into the arms of Speroni, but for some reason he decides to put one hand on it, and something a very sort of Pickford-esque tips it kind of just. Well, I'm not sure what he was doing with it. He just kind of puts a hand on it and just keeps it floating in the 6-yard box.
Well, what he does is he basically taps it backwards, and it's basically scores an own goal.
Yeah, except Mo Salah, who's carried on running, is there to just bundle it into the goal, flings himself into the net at the same time.
It's unbelievable.
It's a very strange goal, and both Salah's goals so far have come from just sort of weird, mistakes from Speroni and Salah being right in front of him when he made them. But, not complaining. And as the game sort of got into its dying embers, you kind of thought that was it then. You thought, 3-2, we'll take that.
We actually regained control of the game quite well, in terms of, we actually started to calm the game down a bit. We restricted Crystal Palace a lot more. We were the ones threatening. And this is when, we expected to do this at 2-1. At 3-2, we then actually started to do it. Until it all went a bit wrong for one player on the pitch.
Yeah. James Milner had a moment of madness. He was struggling with, was it Zaha down on the left-hand side?
That's what I said, yeah. Putting Milner out against Zaha, there's only going to be one winner there every time.
Yeah, and in the space of what, 20 minutes? If less than that, really. He's taken out Zaha in a crunching tackle that was definitely deserving of a yellow card. And then before you know it, he's
Done it again, and it's even worse the first one.
It's
You've never seen a more deserved 2 yellows.
it's
Milner knows he's walking off as soon as he's made the challenge. He's like, bugger this, I'm off.
Yeah, as soon as the whistle goes, and it was quite close to the side of a pitch, and he's off down the tunnel, a bit like Henderson against Watford earlier this season. And you just don't know what was going through his mind, other than the fact, you're in that mood where you've got no legs left. You're up against someone younger than you, fitter than you, faster than you, and you just think, oh, piss off. And you just fly in on them. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and he's off and suspended for the next game, sadly, when you consider that Trent's also injured at right back. Again, defensive injuries are really mounting up.
Yeah, I'll say this for Milner. I'm glad he did it at a time when we've got such an embarrassment of riches in defence. Because if, we were in the middle of a massive injury crisis, that would be a really stupid thing for him to have done. But luckily, we've got plenty of cover back there.
Yeah.
Some of whom are in their 20s.
Well, some of them are playing as strikers because, incredibly, we decided not to make a change for a few minutes, and Bobby Firmino went there.
Yeah.
Bobby Firmino went to right back.
Is there a single player in our team who hasn't played in defence yet this season?
I don't know, but I'd like to see Alisson have a go.
True, yeah, fair point.
I'd see it. I think he could. Oh, dear. Anyway, so at this point you're thinking, right, just shop. Let's just close this game out. Like, we don't really have anyone on the bench. Camacho, would eventually come on just for the last couple of minutes to fill in that gap at right back.
And to make his Premier League debut.
Premier League debut, struck very soon after, having already made his full debut for us. And then we go up and seal it, we think, because ball breaks up the field. Robertson breaks forward with it after a deflection. Handballs it, quite simply, as he controls it with his hand. Only one player on the Palace team either sees it or calls for it, either way. Puts it into Mane, and Mane from the wide angle on the left-hand side breaks in, could pass it to Salah, but decides to finish it himself, and it's 4-2.
It's 4-2, it's game over. Or so we thought.
I mean, this is unnecessary. It's one of those, it's like, for God's sake, come on.
I mean, yeah, especially when goal difference is going to be really crucial later on this season. But in literally basically the last few seconds of the game, it falls to, well, it's nodded back to Max Meyer. Max Meyer. Sort of just on the edge of our area by, I'm not sure who it is that sends it back to him.
It's Connor Wickham. He's only just returned from a horrible injury. So
Connor Wickham. He's Meyer's completely unmarked and just kind of controls it and slams it in with his left foot. And by this point, it's kind of like everyone's stopped playing anyway. It's like you've kind of packed it in and he's just scored this way, they're picking up the cones and leaving the pitch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it felt, yeah, and it's like, oh no, we're still, play on, next goal wins. It's like, mate, come on, we're going in, like, I got a pie in the oven. But and I think it is like the last kick of the game.
Yeah, pretty much is, yeah.
It's a strange way to end.
It is, and I mean, it is 4-3 at the end of the game, which means we've conceded the same amount of goals in this game at home as we have all season. Which is remarkable, really.
I mean, that is insane.
And you have to think, Crystal Palace has now scored 3 goals at the Etihad and Anfield.
God almighty, so they have.
They can feel quite aggrieved not to have got something out of this game, but there we go.
Maybe Roy Hodgson is actually a footballing genius.
Well, I mean, he's the oldest manager in Premier League history, so...
He is now, yeah. Yeah, he isn't at the time we're recording. This game happens, but he's only about 2 weeks short.
I was going to say, unless he gets fired in the 2 weeks between this game and when it happens,
Yeah, which we can tell you he doesn't.
No. No, as a result of, performances like this. But either way, despite the complete lack of control and very sort of 2017-18 Liverpool that it is, it's a vital 3 points. It's nice to get some goals again. And it continues, keeps us 4 clear still.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing at the moment, is just maintaining that cushion. Now that we've, given away ground to Man City, who I've said repeatedly, I can't see losing another game this season. That cushion is vital. And having said that, what goes and happens the night before our next game, Matt?
Well, we've talked about one former Anfield hero, Roy Hodgson. It's an inarguably even greater one in Rafa Benitez, who hands us the greatest gift he possibly could by beating them.
With a Newcastle side that have been fending off relegation for the entire season.
Mostly full of Championship players and Premier League rejects, yeah.
Yeah, such as our own Javier Manquillo.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that was a Tuesday night, and when that full-time whistle went and Man City lost, I went so mental I'm ashamed of myself. Because I was complacent, and I thought that was, I thought that undid the damage they'd done to us earlier in the season. We were going to get our 7-point lead back. I kind of took it as a given that we would capitalise on this nightmare for Man City. But it wasn't quite the way it turned out, and I feel embarrassed by my complacency.
No, well, it was the next game we found ourselves, the final game of January, and we are at home to a Leicester side who are not playing well, and are looking vulnerable, and looked there for the taking, as you mentioned. And I mean, the only big question really had at the start of this game was who the hell was going to play right back, because we had no natural right backs. Klein at this point had gone because he'd gone in January, which is something we hadn't mentioned. And now we have no Trent, no Gomez, no Milner. I mean, the only real option I saw at the time was, well, Fabinho plays right back for Brazil because he can seem to play everywhere. So it would most likely be him, but it wasn't.
No, it was Jordan Henderson.
Right, of course it was.
Yeah, because as I say, who hasn't yet played in defence for us this season? It's like, I'm trying to think of what it's like. It's like when you're driving and everyone's got to take a turn in the middle seat, in the back. You keep stopping at every service station up the M5 just so that you can keep swapping around and everyone gets a turn in the middle. But
it's basically a case of Jurgen Klopp goes, right, is your name Mohamed Salah? No, right, you're going right back today.
Are you either Mohamed Salah or our goalkeeper? No, right.
Right back. Yeah, that's pretty much how it's been. And so, yeah, Jordan Henderson played at right back with Gini, Keita and Shaqiri playing in that midfield. So, again, a very offensive lineup, really.
Yeah, but Fabinho wasn't even on the pitch.
No,
Fabinho was probably the natural choice for right back after all our right backs and Milner. Doesn't even not play right back because he's starting in midfield. He's on the bench.
No, it's very true. Rafa Camacho's also who could play there. He's on the bench as well. So
yeah. I mean, Kiana Hoover's a naturalised right back rather than a centre back, but
extraordinary,
very strange.
Either way, with those injuries continuing defensively, I mean, this is a game where you thought, right, we've just got to go at them because our strength is definitely now going forward, so we need to go forward and attack them and score goals. And almost if we do another game like we do at Palace, it's kind of understandable. Leicester do have a lot of dangerous players. Jamie Vardy's a dangerous striker. James Maddison's been one of the best young players in the Premier League this season. There's a lot of threat on that pitch from them. And it doesn't take us very long to take the lead. And it's Sadio Mane.
Yeah, Sadio Mane, who's had a great January. Let's say. He was so unlucky not to get on the score sheet against Man City. Great goal against Palace. And now sort of cutting in from left-hand side. He's sort of surrounded by Leicester defenders. I'm not really sure how he does it, but he quite calmly just strides it into the bottom corner.
Yeah, it's a lovely goal, and it was one hell of a fast start from us.
Yeah, it was. I was watching this in the pub, and I hadn't actually got there by this point.
So you weren't watching it?
Well, I was watching the subsequent 86 minutes, which was a shame, really, because I undeniably missed the highlight of the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it's me, I think it is me. I just don't think Liverpool want to make me happy anymore.
Oh, God, that sounds like a horrible relationship breakup. Don't do that. We've got the rest of this year's podcast to do. I can't do this on my own. Well, I probably could, to be fair. But
you normally do. I just chip in every now and then about umlauts.
Yeah, umlauts. Anyway, After a quick early start, we sort of start to become quite lethargic and quite tired and quite lacking creativity, which again is not the first time this month that's happened. But you're sort of thinking it's been a week and a half since we last played, because the Palace game was 10 days ago. We were out the FA Cup, we're out the League Cup, so we didn't play again for most of January. In fact, we took a trip, took a 4-day break during this, like a winter break, to Dubai, which is something we'll come on to later. But we've returned from that trip, and I'm just sort of thinking, well, what did we do out there? Like, why? How are we so tired? Surely we haven't played for like 10 days. Yeah, you'd expect the momentum maybe to need to be picked up a bit, but like, what is it about these breaks? I swear, every time we go on one, we come back and we don't play well.
Yeah, it's a real favourite tactic of Klopp, mainly because we keep getting knocked out of the FA Cup really early.
I swear it's intentional. I swear.
Yeah, but looking at the results after them, there's no immediate benefit. It would make sense if it was intentional if we were using that time and we came back and we were unstoppable because we've been, swanning around in Marbella while everyone else was sweating it in a 4th-round tie away to Rotherham. But, they don't and we're not.
It's concerning. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
if we're going on these trips and coming back and not playing well, there's something wrong with why we're going or what we're doing when we go. I don't know.
Maybe it's the airline food. Maybe it's those little kind of packets of peanuts and raisins they give you.
I'm concerned that you misappropriate how good the flights would be for Liverpool players compared to you or I travelling somewhere.
I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, Matt. I'm quite offended by that.
I mean, when was the last time you flew first class somewhere?
I've never flown first class anywhere.
Have you ever flown premium economy?
Is that when you get an armrest?
Do you not get armrests on flights?
Not all the flights.
I think maybe we can see where your level is here.
I mean, I thought peanuts and raisins were universal.
I mean, possibly, but you're looking at more like macadamia and cashews. Posh nuts.
Posh nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
Sorry, mate.
This is supposed to be a working class sport. This is supposed to be the game of a common man.
They went to Dubai.
Yeah, I don't mind them going to Dubai, but macadamias and cashews. I mean, for goodness' sake.
Yeah, and caviar on little biscuits, water biscuits.
Blinis. Is it blinis? That's what they're called?
That's it. Yeah.
Blinis. Yeah.
Like salmon and like cream cheese and a little sort of like pastry ring.
Little sort of olive on with and half an olive.
And a mini quiche.
Oh, I like mini quiches.
Better than big ones.
Nice.
Big quiches are too messy. I like mini ones because I like go in the mouth. But a big one is like it falls apart. It's hard to eat.
It depends how you cook it. If you bake it properly, you can slice it perfectly like a sort of lemon meringue pie.
Well, you probably have to blame Mrs. Simpson for that one then.
Sorry, Mrs. Simpson. I didn't mean to insult your quiches. Tell you what's nice, mini burgers. Have you ever had mini burgers?
They're called sliders, aren't they? Now that's like the thing.
Oh, that's what hipsters call them. But they're just mini burgers. Buy them in like a punnet from Asda for about £2. Get 16 mini burgers, like cocktail sausages, but mini burgers. They're well nice.
I mean, I'm pretty certain this isn't the sort of food that they would be eating on a flight out to Dubai, but there we go.
I mean, I'm starting to think it was, which is why we're playing so poorly against Leicester.
Maybe it was, yeah. But that unfortunately the one too many pastries seem to have had their effect on the squad. As Leicester, I mean, to their credit, they did play well, they defended well, and they looked dangerous, and deservedly got the equaliser on the stroke of half time after Chilwell had a free kick back into the area, and Maguire's there to sort of poke it in from a couple of yards out.
Yeah, Harry Maguire, who we should say they shouldn't even be on the pitch.
No, he should have been sent off earlier in this game. He got booked for a foul a few minutes earlier that was pretty nasty.
I mean, it was an off-the-ball challenge. He took out Sadio Mane, nowhere near the ball. He basically, chopped his ankles. How he only got away with a yellow is a mystery to me.
Yeah, and also I'd like to mention that the free kick that was crossed in wasn't a foul either. It was the most pathetic attempt, pathetic sort of falling over I've ever seen. But unfortunately, it does punish us, and as I mentioned, they did kind of deserve to be equalised at half-time because we weren't playing well, and they were. And that extended to the second half, where Leicester really could have won this game. Firmino had to clear one off the line shortly after half-time after a free kick. This was bad. This got really poor.
Yeah, it was. It was poor from us, but it was generally a poor game of football overall, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, but I'd have to say that of the two, Leicester were better, and we ultimately it ended up being a 1-1 draw.
I agree.
But we got away with it.
Just about. We made it to the end, and again, it was sort of by the end of the game, you thought, yeah, you take a draw here. You watch that and you think, compare this with the utter jubilation of the night before. But you look at it and you think, actually, yeah, if I'd take a draw with Leicester 1-1 because it's utter defeat right now, and it's such a million miles away from that feeling of jubilation when Man City lost, and you suddenly realise, what? And it feels like such a bad result, even though we're actually a point up on Man City compared to where we were at the beginning of the week. But it still just feels like it's a draw that feels like a defeat, isn't it?
It's a missed opportunity, is what it is.
It's a massive missed opportunity.
And
it's gonna come back to bite us in the arse.
But if you have to look at it out of context, we're now over halfway through the season. We've hit February, 5 clear at the top of the league. I'd have bitten your hand off of that at the start of the season.
Well, you tried. I remember you tried, and I have to say, Matt, will you back it in? What would happen if one of us fell over and broke our hand? I'd be left with no hands if you bit my hand off.
This is very true. It'd be what an awful thing it would be to break your hand. It would certainly, have to delay recording things, for example, among many other things that could have happened this month.
It would. The only thing we can be thankful for is that if I had broken my hand, it would be in some totally sober incident that I could look back on with dignity.
And the great thing is, if you did break your hand, I'd be the one editing, and so it would be far easier for me to have to work with it.
Exactly. If you broke your hand, then frankly, Matt, we're
And with that, we will close out the games in January. And we've got another 5 coming up in February, which, it's the end of February and we haven't released this yet. So we pretty much know what we're going to be talking about next month. But
it's maybe going to be like this month.
it feels a little bit like it might be. But hey, at least we're still 5 clear at the top of the league, and things aren't looking awful yet. In fact, they're looking pretty good still.
Well, we are, do you mean?
Yeah, of course we are. No, I mean, 5 clear at the top of the league. Champions League comes back next month as well, so that's something else to look forward to.
Yeah, and it's it's the only competition we're left in other than the league, so we've got to make the most of it.
Exactly.
Because who knows where we could be going into March?
No, I have no idea either. With that, before we move on and discuss our usual features throughout the month, let's take our now obligatory contracted advert break.
Curtis Jones, Liverpool central midfielder, squad number 48, and suspiciously chavvy. And now you can celebrate his life work in the way most befitting his noble stature. New from the company that brought you Marcus Babbel Monthly and the Owen and Arson collection comes Curtis Jones Magazine. Curtis Jones Magazine is the only place for your weekly news, reviews and updates on Curtis Jones. Sign up and each week for just £19.99 you'll receive a 48-page colour magazine packed full of interesting features, articles and pieces, which all mean basically the same thing, on the lad from Liverpool. What are his favourite pair of trainers? Where did he go to school? Is he related to Tommy Cooper? Has he ever committed treason? Why is he so angry that we're making a magazine revealing all the intimate details of his personal life? Find out these things and more! As well as that, for just £29.99 a week, you'll collect a new piece of your life-size Curtis Jones 3D sculpture, complete with football, pitbull terrier, and can of relentless energy drink mango flavour. Until by 2062, you'll have a complete statue of the man himself. And complete your statue by ordering our Curtis Jones sculpture stand depicting an average Liverpool park featuring derelict children's playground, bottles of white lightning and discarded condoms and heroin needles, the perfect accompaniment to Curtis Jones. There's also fun for all the family in Curtis Jones Magazine, games and quizzes for the kids, Curtis Jones fashion tips for the mums, and a mucky section in the back for the dads. At just £39.99 per week, you can't afford to miss out on this golden opportunity, or should we say, Jones-atunity. Don't delay, sign up today for just £49.99 a week. Brought to you by Nonsense Publishing. We have no idea either.
I'm Peggy Arfaxad. You may know me from my recently unveiled statue outside the cup, clutching the 5 different trophies I won in my illustrious career. That's right, I've won more trophies than Raina, Dudek and Alison put together. I've got Bruce Grobbelaar working for me as a chef, and Ray Clemens does my accounts. I'm a pretty effing big deal. But what the point is, I want more. 6 medals in 6 games sounds like a pretty good return. In fact, it's the best. Phil Neal, so take your European Cups and shove it. I don't care what the lawyers say, I'm not going to stop emailing you. But I decided to take getting a lot of medals for doing very little to new heights. That's why I'm launching Peggy Arfaxad's Medal Amnesty. Have you got old medals you no longer want? Is that Screen Sports Super Cup medal burning a hole in your sock drawer? Is your Texaco Cup medal gathering dust at the back of a shelf? Does your Auto Windscreen Shield medal no longer make you happy? Would you, like Lazar Markovic, just rather have a shitload of cash? Then you're in luck, because I've got a shitload of cash from selling my body for incredibly lucrative pornography back in Guadeloupe, and I'm willing to share it with you, if you want to turn your unwanted medals into cash. Do you no longer care about winning the Anglo-Italian Cup? Do you no longer remember triumphing in the LDV Vans Trophy? Do you even know what the Zenith Data Systems Cup is anymore? What is that? I don't know what that is. Oh. Don't forget any hopes of an open top bus tour or the 50th anniversary reunion program on Radio 5 Live, and let me, Peggy Arfaxad, help turn your unwanted medals into cash. Simply pop them in this massive tissue bag and send to prfaxad, Bastere, Guadalupe, or visit CastroMez.com. I'm Peggy Arfaxad, and I want more medals, damn it!
Hi, I'm James Milner, CEO and HR Coordinator of James Milner Industries. Business has been thriving recently for our company in the West Yorkshire area, with our various business strands each showing record profits, so long as you don't consider costs into the equations. But we here at James Milner Industries are aware that we need to keep up to date with modern times and ensure our company can thrive in an ever-changing digital world. Introducing James Milner's internet websites with me, James Milner. James Milner's internet websites with me, James Milner, is the best store in the West Yorkshire area to buy your internet website. We have over 5 internet websites available for you to buy, each lovingly created by our expert team of internet experts. Well, it was a team, but our 17-year-old intern left for some reason, so now it's just me doing it. It's never been easier to get your very own website than with James Milner's internet websites with me, James Milner. Simply pop along to our store, browse through our collection of almost 7 websites to choose from, fill in an order slip, queue up and pay at the till, collect your order receipt, queue up at the collection point, collect your website confirmation sheet and code, go to your nearest computer, visit the website on your confirmation sheet and input your details with that attached code, and within 7 to 10 working weeks your website will be ready to collect in store. Find our store on St Margaret's Road opposite the Old Ball pub in Horsforth, a short walk from Horsforth station, or a 40-minute bus ride on the 5, 33, 36, 50 or 757 from Leeds City Centre. Unfortunately, we don't have a website of our own yet, but you can request a catalogue by sending a postal order for £8.95 to our store, or alternatively via fax to the number. Although I forgot to write it down before recording this advert, so I'll just Google it. James Milner's internet websites with me, James Milner, bringing the 21st century into the 20th.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel Klein. You might recognise me from such hospitals as Oxford John Radcliffe, London St Thomas's and the Los Angeles Hip Hop Centre for the Temporarily Incapacitated Gangsters. I've spent a lot of time on the treatment table lately, and let me tell you, it's been a real punishment. I've not felt so demoralised at a punishment since my younger days, when I was regularly did 100 lines after my school afternoons. Anyway, what I've really discovered when I've been in hospital is that prescription drugs seem to go missing and run out very easily. Whether it's morphine, painkillers, medicinal cannabis, or even coke, or even coke from the vending machine in the corridor, this mysterious theft is causing hospitals That's why I want to use my profile to help these precious institutions get back on track. So if you've got any spare drugs lying around, couldn't longer need, now's a chance to make a difference. Maybe you've recovered from a mysterious illness and no longer need all your pills. Maybe you've bought wholesale bulk and just need loads of spares to get rid of, yeah? Maybe you're a Colombian drug warlord outed in the sports papers for supplying Premier League footballers and are just trying to offload a surplus stock before it catches you. Either way, send your unwanted drugs to Nathaniel Klein, Ivywood Heights, Bournemouth, Hampshire. And in return, I'll send you £10,500 for every gram. For more information, visit cashformeds.co.uk. Because I'm Nathaniel Klein and I want to give something crack. What? Back.
Welcome back to the Plastic Scousers January Review podcast. A brief ad break for you there. Lots of very important services and products and initiatives to consider, I'm sure. But it is now time for another spin around the globe that we like to call Earth, as we publish another LFC travel guide. Yes, it's that time in the season where the FA Cup fourth round rolls around and we are left kicking our heels with nothing to do. So the Liverpool squad depart to sunnier, warmer, altogether less productive climes, and we dispatch one of our acclaimed Plastic Scousers travel journalists to go with them, to give them a sort of a platter, an amuse-bouche, a small smorgasbord of all the delights they can expect on these foreign shores. And so this month we've sent Matt Simpson all the way to Dubai to give the Liverpool squad a little forewarning, a little taste of what is in store for them on their latest mid-season warm weather, totally not a waste of time or a season disruption training camp. So Matt, tell us what is in store in Dubai.
What have Dubai and Mohammed Salah got in common? As well as both being exuberantly wealthy, they're both the jewel in their respective desert nations' crowns. Dubai lies smack bang in the middle of the United Arab Emirates, along the Persian Gulf, and about an hour north of the country's capital, Abu Dhabi. With an average temperature in the high 20s for this time of year, it already seems the ideal place for Mr. Klopp to take his squad for a nice bit of warm weather training in the Middle Eastern sunshine. But what else can the squad get up to during their days away? One might expect the players to be staying at only the best of hotels, and Dubai has many. But the one most likely and most famous is the 7-star Burj Al Arab Hotel on Jumeirah Beach. Standing at 321 metres tall as the 5th largest hotel in the world, the jokes about Peter Crouch write themselves. But the Burj Al Arab is far more than your ordinary massive hotel. It stands on an artificial island made of sand, the only skyscraper in the world to do so. It contains 200 deluxe suites of the finest quality, the most expensive of which costing $28,000 a night, has a restaurant under the sea, and even a helipad on its roof for the team to have a kickabout on. It's more excessive and unnecessary than a Daniel Sturridge dribble. Having settled in, the squad can't miss a visit to the Burj Khalifa. Literally, you can't miss it. It's the tallest building in the world, at a staggering 828 metres tall. In fact, the pieces used to build it could run a quarter of a way around the entire planet. Even Hendo would have trouble running that far. Housed within is everything from bars and restaurants, a hotel, viewing platform, office space, and even residential apartments designed by Giorgio Armani. Stylish, sophisticated, and classy. But enough about me. Let's continue the guide. After a quick trip to the Burj Khalifa, the rest of the day might well be spent at the Dubai Mall just down the road, one of the many found throughout the city. With over 1,200 shops housing almost every large retailer and fashion designer around the world, even the quirkily dressed Naby Keita will find something that suits him. Just bring your walking shoes. The mall covers 5.4 million square feet of space, so you need Andy Robertson levels of stamina to see it all. Housed within the mall is also an aquarium and underwater zoo, where you can see one of the largest collections of marine wildlife in the world. You can even experience a wide range of aquatic experiences, including scuba diving, snorkeling, and diving with sharks. It's more terrifying than Alberto Moreno Challenge in the area. There's also a complete VR underwater and zoo experience, if you prefer a simulated version, like a controversial Salah penalty. However, if history and culture are more your thing, then perhaps some of the squad would prefer a trip to the Souk Mazanet Jumeirah, a recreation of the classic souks synonymous with Emirati culture. designed with the stunning architecture of classic Arabian souks, with modern restaurants and boutiques throughout the alleys and waterways, and entertainment and live shows throughout the week to keep you entertained. Modern and full of vibrancy despite how old it looks. James Milner would surely love a trip around the Souk Madinat. There is also the Dubai Museum, that is certainly worth a visit on the other side of town. Demonstrating the true history of this Emirati city and those nomads and early Muslim dynasties that once lived there, the museum boasts a staggering collection of material dating from as far back as the 3rd century, or as old as Alex Manninger, or indeed this joke. Following a long day of shopping, culture, and looking at really, really big stuff, it's time to relax in one of the world's party capitals. Slightly ironic for a strictly Muslim, non-alcoholic drinking country, but we aren't best placed to judge here at the Plastic Scousers. The opulence and glamour of a professional footballer's lifestyle is perfectly suited to the nightlife hotspot on the Arabian Peninsula. Unfortunately for some of the younger lads like Trent, Ryan Brewster and Rafa Camacho, nights out in Dubai are strictly for over 21s, so it's a cup of tea and early night for the younger lads. For the rest of the lads, places like White, Boudoir, Indulge and Casbah are not the names of aftershaves they picked up at the mall, but some of the best nightclubs in the city. There's also the attraction in Nassini Beach for a party under the stars, sand underfoot and midges in your pina colada. The next day, a trip slightly out of town is in order, to the IMG World of Adventure, by now unsurprisingly the largest indoor theme park in the world, featuring an enormous number of rides, stores and dining experiences from some of the world's biggest entertainment corporations, including Marvel and Cartoon Network. It's a world of fun for all the family and the squad to enjoy. It'll also be nice for the squad to cool down with a dip in the pool. And of course Dubai has plenty to offer with 3 giant water parks to choose from. Whether it's Aquaventure, Laguna or the brilliant named Wild Wadi Water Park, there's literally too much choice. Certainly more options than Klopp had in his defence this month. But hopefully this trip to Dubai will allow the players a good break and time to recover, leaving them fresh and ready for the season ahead, and not to come back more lethargic, injury-prone and desperately before they went.
Thank you very much, Matt. A wonderful guide to Dubai there, mixing, the joys of nightlife with more cultural, historical sites. It's actually made me really want to go to Dubai.
It's fascinating how everything there is just bigger than everywhere else.
It's just bigger and more expensive by the sounds of it.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, the underwater zoo is, it's a daft idea when you think about it. It sounds like something we would have come up with on the Plastic Scousers podcast.
But there we go. No, it's genuinely real and an extraordinary place.
Well, we thank you very much for your roving report.
We're going to move on to our final feature of this month's podcast. And unlike most of the time where we just reuse old features because we don't have a lot to think about, it's something brand new for the Plastic Scousers podcast. It's a feature in which we will take a deep dive into some of the more significant, important and vital topics. And we here, Plastic Scousers podcast, Owen and I will fix football. We're gonna fix football here. So let's have an argument. How the feature is going to work is that Owen and I have each got some ideas of how to fix both Liverpool and football more generally. And we are going to debate those. Each one of us will present an idea and they will have 2 minutes to argue their case for it. By which point the opposing person will then have to argue for 2 minutes, arguing against that notion, and then we will eventually decide whether to carry or reject that motion, and hopefully fix football. Owen, would you like to make your first point, and then I will start the timer?
Yes, I was not aware I would need to be talking for 2 minutes on this subject, so this should be interesting. Yes, so my point is that Liverpool should be prepared to give the concept of joint managers another go.
You have 2 minutes. Please begin.
Well, Liverpool pioneered in the English game the concept of joint managers back in 1998 when Roy Evans and Gerard Houllier were briefly both co-managers of Liverpool. It had never been done before, in the English game, to my knowledge. It's certainly never been done before at Liverpool, and it was an odd concept because one was Roy Evans, the a stalwart of the boot room, the latest in a long line of succession of former Liverpool players who worked their way through the ranks in
30 seconds gone.
Junior jobs at the club to become the manager of the first team. And what was Gerard Houllier, the complete opposite, the continental flair, the outsider, the man who was brought in to bring a bit of modern football to Liverpool. And they only lasted a couple of months before Roy Evans left Houllier by himself. It was obviously it was a fruitful period when Houllier left, because we went on to win, about 6 trophies under him, all of which were before Keanu Hoover was born. But basically, my point is, it's never been tried again since, and and we should be willing to revisit ideas, even if they were catastrophic failures. There's so many people unemployed in the country at the moment that if every football club in the Football League and Premier League, took another manager, that would be another 92 people, in work, and think of 2 heads are better than one. Imagine the passion and the madness of Klopp and the heavy metal football with a more calm, reserved style of a Jose Mourinho. You've got the best of both worlds. So it's great when you're playing up against a really, a team that we can blow away with attacking football. But when, we're clearly not breaking through and we want to park the bus, having Mourinho as co-manager alongside Klopp might be just what we need. And that might be the secret to winning the title again after all these years. And,
10 seconds.
We need to start working together, Matt. We need to start embracing each other. We need to start overcoming barriers. And 2 managers are better than one. And we should be pioneers once again at the top of the English game.
And stop. 2 minutes. Perfect timing. Well, that was well argued and well coherent. So now I have 2 minutes. Can you time me? So it makes life a bit easier.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Okay, so yeah.
Go.
Okay, so much like indeed the 1990s, and indeed a lot of the things you said and the ideas that you just put across, it's incredibly dated and old-fashioned to suggest that a joint manager system could ever work properly, especially in modern football. Because in fact, a coaching team is more than just 2 people. It is a vast group of people from everything from the main manager, the coaches just below them who oversee training or tactics or analysis. Then you get the coaches who work with them day to day and all sorts of things. From the
30 seconds gone.
From the goalkeeping coach and your forward coaches who work on striking and your set piece coaches. I mean, for God's sake, we have a throw-in coach now. That is how big this whole thing has become. And don't think that the management is not just, the 2 people in charge of the club. They're not buying the players. There's all the people above them. There's directors of football and, all the sort of board members who are all part of that management structure. So having the idea of just 2 people managing, that is in itself an inherently old-fashioned way of thinking about football. You've also got to consider the fact that a leader is a charismatic figure. You have a look at the greatest figures, in football that we think of in those positions: Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, our wonderful manager, Mauricio Pochettino. You go further afield, you think of Carlo Ancelotti, for example, the manager. They're all individuals who are thought of as the great person that they look up to, and they are the ones who are in charge. To have 2 of them, you don't get that in politics. You don't get that at business levels. You don't get
30 seconds.
You don't get that anywhere else. Why would you want to introduce that to football? It's got to stay exactly the way it is. It's clearer. It's more concise. You allow for a more complex structure that focuses on more different parts with the wonderful head. And I mean, let's be honest. No, you wouldn't want anyone but Jurgen Klopp managing our club right now, regardless if he had somebody with him or regardless if he didn't. That is my argument. Thank you.
And he finishes with 8 seconds to spare. A coherent and well-phrased rebuttal of my idea there.
Thank you.
There we go. There we go. That made me shit myself. That
was the funniest alarm.
Oh, paused that. Went off right next to me. That was a bit alarming. So what happens now, Matt?
Well, now, are we going to be carrying this notion or not? Should joint managers be reconsidered for Liverpool? Is that something we generally think that could happen?
I mean, in all honesty, I think it's a terrible idea.
Okay, well, great.
But I wasn't aware that I'd be having to defend it. So I feel I owe it a bit of a fight. I don't know. I just feel it would help. It would help stop ideas becoming stale.
I do understand that, but that's why there are other coaches, who are part of that team.
Yeah, this is a good point. But none of them quite share the power of a Klopp, do they?
This is it, Klopp he is the mighty leader, and it's better for it. It allows there to be a focus, and also when things go wrong, people need someone to shout at, and having two people to shout at is more confusing.
Yeah, but it's less. You can shout half as much at each person because you've got twice as many people to shout at. Surely, then that actually means that the damage of that shouting is diluted.
But then what if the two people are shouting at each other, and then the players have no instructions to follow?
Yeah, well, yeah, then you're buggered. Exactly,
and at least this way you're not buggered. You might play badly, but you're not buggered.
It's a fair point. I will accept not being buggered.
Okay, the motion has been rejected. So it is my turn now to make my argument. Owen, are you ready to time me? I'll read my statement, and then you can start the clock.
I am ready. Go.
So my statement is, rather than having replays in domestic cup competitions, they should instead be replaced by a multi-ball system in extra time.
Start the clock.
So, a lot of managers complain about having to play replays and extra games in the FA Cup. Certainly in the League Cup they were eliminated, but they were once in there as well. Also in Europe we have replays as well, but I thought let's keep this to domestic games for now because the intra-European politics is not something we should be discussing at this point. So a way of discussing what we said we could do is the most obvious one would be to do penalty shootouts or just extra time. But I think the penalty shootouts become a little bit tedious as a sorry, I'm still coughing. As a method to decide who wins, because essentially it's just a lottery. It doesn't show any required skill apart from just being able to kick a ball in the net. So instead, to make it more interesting and exciting, we introduced the multi-ball system, where every 5 minutes in extra time, another ball is launched onto the pitch. And it is literally next goal wins. That way, not only will you have the utter joy of seeing several footballs at the same time on the pitch as players try to work out which one they should go for, and goalkeepers are working out which one they should be saving first, whether one's going to go wide or not. It will be utter chaos. It will be utterly joyous to watch. But we've still got a lot of skills to be able to manage all the different ways that the balls are going to go making sure that they would score the goals in time. Now, also, of course, this would then mean most likely games would probably end after about 5 or 10 minutes after that, which would be great for the managers because it means that the game would then be over. It would be decided who scored. There would never be a complication of if two goals went in at similar times because we have goal line technology. It will tell us which one went in first.
30 seconds.
And I think most of all, more importantly, it'll be massively entertaining for the fans there. It will be utter chaos. It'll be utterly joyful, which is something that football has sapped out so much of itself in recent years. And quite frankly, I just think it would be a wonderful idea to really mix up the formula, which is, football. Football doesn't make many dramatic changes. The ABBA system and penalties, what's that? Who cares? This is the new system. It's multi-ball.
Look at that. On the dot.
Thank you. And now you have 2 minutes to argue against the notion of... You okay?
Yeah, let me just have a swig of IPA.
Just for the chest infection needs.
Exactly. Get a cure.
And now you have 2 minutes to make your argue against the defence for whether we should have multiple systems involved in football. You start the clock now.
Well, I'm not going to lie, Matt. You've made such an interesting and unexpected case there that I'm finding it very hard to argue against because that does sound magnificent. So I'm going to pick you up on something you said early on, and that's the concept of a replays. I think replays are a crucial part of English football tradition. I think the recent plans to scrap the FA Cup replays, starting this season, the fifth round, is diabolical. I think if if you're a small team who is trying to, if you've been drawn a home tie against a big team, you fight your arse off for a goalless draw. And then you're rewarded not with a penalty shootout where you'll invariably lose because 13 of your squad are part timers and one of them's a policeman and 2 of them are qualified dentists. What you really want is a replay where you get a chance to go to Anfield or Old Trafford or the Etihad or even Wembley.
1 minute gone.
These are what players dream of, and if anything, I think we should be putting more replays in, not scrapping them. I think we should go back to the old system where even the final had a replay if it was drawn. Stuff penalties. Penalties are a lottery; they don't reflect skill. Have a replay if you play a cup final at Wembley and it's drawn. just have a replay. More fans get the chance to go to Wembley. More fans get to see the chance to get a cup final. More players get the chance to play in a cup final. And if that replay is drawn, do what they did in the old days and have another replay. In fact, I think it shouldn't just be for cup games, Matt. I think it should be for league games. I think there should be no such thing as a draw. A draw is a boring result. It's a cop-out. Nobody goes to football. Nobody pays £60 for a ticket to see a draw. If you draw in the league, you should have a replay of that fixture. And if you draw again, you should keep playing. And so what if a league is 100 games long? So what if it's still going on the next September?
10 seconds.
Every game should be won or lost. Anything else is a disgrace to the spirit of competition. Replays, all the time. Every game, every draw. Replay.
Stop.
Replay.
I have a strange feeling I know from where you found the inspiration for some of that speech. I can tell you that much.
Well, yes. Inspirations to us both, I feel.
So your argument essentially is that rather than scrapping replays and having a multiple system, is that we should have replays all the time instead.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think the multi-ball system is such a good idea that the only real argument I've got against it is as an argument against the concept of extra time in its entirety.
Okay.
Rather, I think extra time should be 90 minutes long on a separate day.
So I think we're in agreement then. We'll have the multi-ball system, but with an addendum that... are we having the multi-ball system or are we having replays? I'm not quite sure which one we're going for here.
Well, maybe we should have replays, and once you get to 4 replays without a winner, then you put the multi-ball in.
But why 4?
It's just a number that came off the top of my head. You can do 7 if you want, but it goes on longer.
No, you said 4. Sounds good enough to me. So we are going to pass the motion that we should have multiple systems, but with an addendum that only after 4 games worth of replays.
And do you agree that should be in the league as well as cup matches?
Yeah, why not?
Wonderful.
Motion carried.
We've reached consensus. God, politics is wonderful sometimes, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And so, Owen, it's up to you to make your second point in how we are fixing football.
Okay. Well, this is, I feel, a massive change to football. Every club in Europe should be required to feature in their first team a player from the Oceania Football Confederation in order to help boost the profile and the skill of the game in Oceania.
You have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Now, Matt, you and me both remember vividly the 2013 Confederations Cup, where by some minor miracle Tahiti qualified. It was probably the biggest result in the Tahitian football history. They won the OFC Nations Cup, or whatever it is, and were rewarded with a chance to get humped 7-0 by Cameroon on a Wednesday night on BBC Three. And it was great exposure for the Tahiti team. But, that tournament ended, and it ended with Tahiti having no points and a goal difference of about minus 28 in 3 games. And they were forgotten after that. And I often think, what happened to those players that achieved such fame, such infamy for that brief 3 weeks, that summer of 2013? Surely we should be following their exploits. Surely someone should come and play in the English League on the back of such an international triumph. Matt, football is a global game, like it or not.
1 minute gone.
I think it's incumbent on all of us to make sure that it is equally developed across the world. And I think that, the benefits and the glories and the prosperity of the game that we enjoy in this country and this continent should be shared equally across the world. Why should our football be more profitable and more prosperous than football in somewhere like Tuvalu or Samoa? So I think it should be mandated, as we've got the homegrown rule, we should have a far-flung rule where every club has to have a player from like the Fiji national team. So that, those players will, gain profile. People want to watch them play for their national teams. They will get better. Imagine a player from Tonga playing alongside Salah, Firmino and Mane every week. He'd skyrocket. And that is what it takes for football to become a global game. And, we've seen it with sort of African players coming to England after World Cups. And we'll say, I think that if we do this, by 2050, we will have a South Pacific team winning the World Cup. That is my promise. That should be the ambition in the next 30 years.
Okay, time stop. It's a very interesting argument, right? And now I will make my rebuttal whenever you give me the signal.
Are you ready for your rebuttal? Go.
Well, I think this is a fairly easy one to rebuttal, and I'd like to do it with evidence, which is something that is rare in today's modern society. I'd like to give you the case of Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia aren't necessarily known as the greatest football team in the world. However, they did appear at the World Cup last year. They were in a group alongside Uruguay, Egypt, and Russia, the hosts, of course. Now, Saudi Arabia were aware that they weren't the strongest team in the competition. In fact, they were the lowest ranked team in the competition. And so they decided the best way that they could fix this is by sending a lot of their players, who were all currently, or virtually all, based in the country, out to Spain. All of, 11 of them or something. They sent out to Spain to the strong, the first and second tier of Spanish football in order to gain experience and to develop as footballers and hopefully sell themselves and show that they got better qualities than they could perhaps get at their national level. It didn't work particularly well because they were thumped 5-0 by Russia in the first game. You tell me how well that worked. In fact, none of those players got much of a chance at all in that competition. They did, in fact, win the last game 2-1 against Egypt. That was a bit of a dead rubber, so it didn't mean a huge amount. And Egypt didn't have Mohamed Salah, and let's be honest, if they probably would have won the World Cup, as we're both aware. It was a complete disaster, a complete waste of everybody's time. None of the Spanish clubs wanted to be involved. None of the Spanish clubs actually used those players very effectively. And poor Saudi Arabia. As for those Asian teams, it's interesting how you mention Tahiti, because of course you couldn't name a single player from that Tahiti side that you had any interest in finding out what happened to afterwards. In fact, par New Zealand, I bet you couldn't name a single player to play in any of the other South Pacific nations teams, and therefore that shows a distinct lack of care for the countries and those people involved. And I fear that's a bigger worry. So yeah, it just isn't a realistic idea.
Matt, that was quite a forthright. Response there. I was quite shocked by it. I was almost aggressive.
You almost seem hurt.
Oh, well, I am. Well, I've got 2 words to say to you, Matt.
Yeah, are they words you Googled about 2 minutes ago?
No. They are... No, because you hadn't actually said it 2 minutes ago. Words I Googled about 30 seconds ago. That's Tamatoa Wagaman.
Tell me about Tamatoa Wagaman.
See, you don't even know his name. You have a go at me. He's a footballer. He was in the Tahiti squad. The 2013 Confederations Cup. He plays for AS Dragon. He started the first match of the tournament, went on to play 7 games for the Tahiti national side.
Okay, and why should I care about him?
I don't know.
Yeah, see, this is where it's like falls
down. It's more to refute your point that you said I couldn't name any of that team, or that I couldn't name any of the Fiji national squad, and I say to you, Savanaka Baladroka.
Oh man, if it wasn't so offensive to say you made that up.
Savanaka Baladroka.
I mean, that is an
He's a 19-year-old Fijian defender who plays for Nasinu, and he made his debut for the Fiji national team in 2018.
So interesting. I was thinking about this, and you could say the South Pacific kind of thing, and the lack of footballers in Oceania from there. But I was thinking, well, there's a couple of countries where there are actually lots of good players from that area, but unfortunately, Australia are considered an Asian team, and what's the other one? Who's the guy who plays at Cardiff? He's in the Philippines.
Oh, Neil Everidge.
Yeah, he's a Filipino. So that's a South Pacific island, really.
That's counted as Asia as well.
This is what I mean. So it's all of those players are actually in a different part. Actually considered not South Pacific or Oceanic. I just don't see them getting games, man. I'm sorry.
Well, I think they'd have to get games. I think you'd have to force clubs to play them. In the same way that we've got a rule that says you have to, if you're taking someone on loan, you have to give them a certain amount of game time, or else you get fined. I think it should be the same thing. I think you have to be quite draconian about this.
I guess so, but then imagine if we lost the title because we were forced to play a player from Vanuatu, and it turned out he was rubbish.
Yeah, but what you got to remember is that someone else will be forced to play. The team we're playing against will be forced to play someone from the Marshall Islands, who will themselves be rubbish.
Well, you only say that because you had a Badger-related incident there. I
do. I'm biased against them, I admit, but
I worry that affects your argument somewhat.
Okay, well, let's call it Kiribati then.
I can't see it working.
I mean, I just think something's got to change. We've got to bring these countries up to scratch.
I think so. I just don't know if that's the way. I think that's too much of a jump. I think we need to look at maybe slower progression. Maybe start at League 2 and sort of work up from there. rather than having it, Man City being forced to play a player from, Samoa. So I think it's a bit too much. We need slower, gradual change.
Okay, but do you accept that there's a good principle here?
I think there's a need to something to change. I just think we've got to do it more gradually than you're suggesting.
So give me a counter proposal.
Every club in League Two, the fourth tier of the top 5 European leagues, must recruit from those island nations and give a certain percentage of game time to be worked out based on, maths every season. I feel we should name this in honour of, one of the players who's most likely to benefit from this. Do you know what I mean? Like you have, like all great laws and stuff become known by the person who proposed them. The Collins law?
No, I was going to say the Savanaka Baladroka law.
I think that's better.
Cool. The Baladroka law it is.
Perfect.
Sorry, Savanaka Baladroka.
Great. Perfect. Motion suspended for now.
That would do. That's good enough for me. That's the best I could have hoped for.
Perfect. Right, I'll do my second one. Are you ready to time me? I'll read, and then you can start the clock.
Yes, I'm ready.
My argument is, rather than attempting to remove the scourge of diving and play acting in football, all diving and play acting should be encouraged, with free kicks given for the best or most dramatic dives or cases of fakery.
Start now.
So, diving is an extremely irritating thing for all football fans. It's a complete pain to watch, some of the best players in the world who evidently have immense ability and can really entertain players fall over and act like absolute twonks all the time to try and earn free kicks and penalties, and generally it's cringeworthy, it's embarrassing, it makes you look stupid, and it's just really unpleasant and ruins the game. I remember watching El Clasico a few years ago, and all that happened was it was 90 minutes of people falling over, and then Messi scored, which I guess is how Barcelona always play. But I just thought to myself, well, it's so difficult to get rid of because it's such a split-second moment. People get into, a bit of a red mist or see an opportunity, they're going to go down. Sometimes it's very difficult to decide if something is a dive or not because there's contact, but then they go over. And so I thought, scrap it. We're looking at this completely wrong. Rather than trying to get rid of it completely, with bookings and settings off and suspensions
1 minute.
Let's just allow it all. In fact, let's reward it, because if you're going to dive, do it properly. Fall over like you've been shot. Roll around like you're a headless chicken that's just that knows it's about to die. Like fall over, scream, swan dive. In fact, we should have a training complex for it. We should have a whole training complex where we have like diving pools and boards and it should be rewarded. You should get bonus points for, fantastic performances and, rehearsed routines. That would be great. You see rehearsed routines when people score goals all the time and they celebrate with funny little routines. Let's see it in diving. A player goes over, everyone else
20 seconds.
Jumps in, goes together, dives, rolls over. I mean, what beautiful entertainment is that? People pay to see synchronised swimming or horse prancing about, wherever that's called. Why not in football? At least then it wouldn't be such a pain in the arse to deal with.
He finishes again with 8 seconds to go.
Hold on, I'm going to then start my clock. Let me know when you're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And begin.
Well, Matt, I can't abide cheating. I can't. I think I get where you're coming from an aesthetic point of view. I see the artistic value in rewarding the most, flamboyant of dives and falls and all of that. But if that's what you want, just watch the gymnastics. Football is a different sport, and by the same logic, we could say, well, let's treat it like water polo and just let's play football, but in a swimming pool. And no, the sport should be kept separate. If anything, I think we should go the other way. Again, I think we should, your mere suggestion has provoked me into an ire that I think we should just say no more fouls. Like, not don't foul anybody, but nothing is a foul anymore. We should go back to the good old days of the 70s where actually you can just kick lumps out of each other. And if you go down, you go down. But, we should be... we shouldn't be encouraging people to pretend that's a terrible example to our children. We should be encouraging them to take as much pain and, attack and aggression as possible and still keep fighting and still get up for what they believe in. And if you're not ready to get up, then you're not ready to fight. You're not ready to carry the crest of that team and the hopes of those fans on your shoulders. If you get kicked in the kneecap and you don't keep running, then you are not fit to wear the shirt. So let's keep diving banned, and let's keep any sort of reaction to fouling banned. Let's get rid of fouls. It would speed the game up. It would provide entertainment value of a proper sort. You just see elbows and legs flying everywhere. People would
10 seconds.
would be passionate again, and people would deserve victory when they get it. So no diving at all. That's a terrible idea. Let's just kick the shit out of each other.
And stop. I was going to agree with you until you got extraordinarily violent then.
And now I'm not sure what happened. I think it's the IPA.
It might be. But either way, no, I don't entirely agree with the idea that we should be doing that about diving, and I do agree that we should be doing more about it. However, I dislike the idea that if people are going to dive, it should be far more interesting to watch. And a bit less pathetic. Like, less of the Neymar and more of the, swanning about, if you're going to dive, do it properly.
See, I think that's the wrong approach to take. You should say, oh, well, if we're going to dive, we might as well do it properly. Well, let's stop diving then. That's like saying, oh, well, if people are going to rob my house, let's at least, make them a cup of tea when they get here. No, let's just, stop them robbing your house.
I don't think they're ever going to stop them diving properly, though. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I tell you what would stop them diving, Matt. Football boot to the kneecap.
But that would stop them playing. That's a different thing.
Well, that's the choice you face, isn't it?
Right. I think
it's tough. It's tough love. It's very tough love, and I admit that it's tough love. But I think if we really want to tackle the scourge of diving, the answer is not encouraging people to dive better. It's to encouraging them to just basically get rid of a referee. Is I think what I'm getting at here.
Right.
Because then if they want to dive, they can dive. But who's going to listen? If Neymar falls over in a wood and there's no one there to give him a free kick, does he make a sound?
Yeah, because it'll be on social media.
But does he make a sound?
Yeah, because it'll be on social media.
What sort of sound does he make?
Social media sound. What
sort of sound is that?
Whatever. The first sort of sound that came into your head when I said that one.
Sort of a booping.
Yeah.
Like a boop, 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 boop. Bit like a radar in a submarine.
Yeah, that's the sound Neymar makes when he falls over in the woods.
Is that what you had in mind?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
But look, let's put it this way: I'm very happy to reject the notion on the condition that you never, ever, 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 ever are in charge of football.
I think that would be a good idea for all concerned, and I'm willing to meet you halfway on that. Yes.
Notion rejected.
Notion rejected.
Right. Owen, this is your last statement, so please make your statement and make your case.
So my statement is as follows. Instead of having a winter break midway through the season, the league season should last all through the summer, with no break at all.
And begin.
Well, Matt, you look at the where the power is in football today. And whoever you think it's with, whether it's the directors, the managers, the players, the agents, or the TV companies, the last person it's with is your humble football fan. Not only are they priced out of attending games, priced out of travelling to games, and often priced out of a subscription to watch the games from the comfort of the pub or the TV, where they have to pay for a drink.
30 seconds gone.
That was a waste. The fans do not get enough credit, and I think we should put the fans first, and we should make sure that they can watch as much football as possible. So, instead, all of the clubs are buying up all the players anyway. Even Liverpool, who haven't got much squad depth at all, have got about 40 players in their first team squad. So why not use them? Get rid of pre-season, get rid of some holidays, and just keep the league going.
1 minute gone.
Just keep playing. And, you can change competitions. You could have the whole FA Cup take place in the month of June. We could have the World Cup, but have it like the African Cup of Nations, while at the same time as the league is going on. Play pre-season friendlies midweek and play league games at weekend, and basically just keep playing football all of the time. And if players get tired, play some different players. It's a great chance to bring youth through. It will encourage the development of academy talent. It will give fans something to watch. And there's nothing worse than the start of July when the internationals are finished, pre-season hasn't started, and there's nothing to do on a Saturday afternoon. There's nothing worse than that. Imagine the Christmas period, but for 12 months a year. Imagine how constantly exciting that would be. The fatigue setting in, the unpredictability of it all. Man City might be losing every game because everyone's knackered because they haven't had a break for about 6 years. It would be magnificent. More football is what we need. More football, no break, and just in the sweltering heat of the summer, it would be brilliant. You know it would.
Right. Okay. I mean, are you ready to time me?
I'm ready to time you. Yes, get ready.
Okay.
And go.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I can't disagree with you in that I would love to have football happen all the time. However, I am also a realist. If I was being asked to work 12 months a year, every day for the whole life, I would die. In fact, I worked for 7 months and then got the flu. I mean, that tells you how weak I am. And these footballers are extremely brittle. They're not exactly, they have to be keeping such physical shape all the time. They're very susceptible to getting ill as a result, I think it's more of a fantasy than anything else to want to ask for football 12 months a year all the time. And anyway, we get that. If you want to watch football all the time, there's always a game on. Even in the summer, there's loads of leagues. The MLS is on during the summer. Or the A-League is on during the summer. There's also European leagues, all the international games you can watch. You can go and play FIFA all year round. There's constantly happening football there. I mean, literally, it can happen whenever and wherever you want. You don't even have to play the game. You can set both teams to the computer and just watch it. It's great. It's like football, but you control what happens, and it happens all the time. Why? We don't need to put people through this kind of hell. Trust me, I recently got injured. I know what it's like to be in pain. I know it's rubbish. I can't imagine what it's like to have to go through that all the time. Players will get injured so often, and they have to suffer all the time. And it would just be horrible for them. By the time they're 30, they can barely walk. And that's not right. We can't put people through that. That'd be horrible, just for our entertainment. Seconds. That's just for our entertainment. It's like treating them like circus animals. We banned that years ago because we knew it was barbaric. No, just buy a copy of FIFA. That's all you need to do. And stream some Ugandan football. I don't know.
Yeah, we can stop there. You stopping there?
I'm stopping already. Thank you.
I mean, it's a difficult one, Matt, because I do like the concept of just buying a game of FIFA and not playing it.
You can do that. It's easy. I used to do that. This is the sad thing, because I'm a cool child. I used to have my own football tournament where I'd have 16 teams of my choosing. And I'd put them into groups, and then I'd reenact all the games on the FIFA, but I didn't play them. And whatever the score was, I'd write it down, and I'd put them through and make my own tournament to a final. And I've realised why I'm single.
I mean, that's the sort of thing I would have done. So in the nicest way possible, I don't think that's why you're single.
Right, okay. I think it's a multitude of other reasons.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I'm not sure. I don't think you can pin it entirely on that.
On my Simpson World Cup, 2004.
See, yeah, no, that sounds exactly the sort of thing I'd have done. I used to have World Cup with my toy animals.
How?
I think the team of monkeys were the undisputed champions.
But how do they play football? At least with FIFA, you can make the game play itself, and there's a result. How do you do it with toy animals?
Oh, well, I just played for them. I just kind of moved them around and made them kick the ball.
Well, that's so cute. I can just imagine a 6-year-old you.
6-year-old? 6-year-old? I was 19.
Oh, okay. Was it first year of uni? It was a tough year.
It was. No, it was. It was back in my childhood. But
I'm not surprised.
But I actually
imagine you doing it last weekend.
No, obviously, I because that was obviously the inter-cuddly animal ice hockey tournament last weekend. I even made a World Cup trophy out of an old squash ball and some scrunched up yellow paper.
Oh, that is adorable.
I think I might still have it somewhere. I'll try and find it and send you a photo.
Oh, that is absolutely amazing. That might be your favourite story you've ever told me about yourself on this podcast.
It looked a lot like the actual World Cup trophy, because you wrap a bit of paper around the squash ball, pull it down so you got the ball and then the stalk, and then basically turn the ball around so it's scrunched up, and it looks a lot like a World Cup trophy.
And see, for that the reason we can't have football all the time is because we can't create childhood memories like what we've just discussed. And there are kids out there that are able to create their own stories just like we have.
You know, I'd forgotten that was what we were discussing. But you make a good point. I think, absence of something you love breeds necessity, and it breeds, necessity breeds invention, and it's. Yeah, I don't know if I was constantly watching football as a kid if I'd have had that World Cup experience with my cuddly monkeys.
Exactly, and that's what you can't have everything. Like if you have too much of a good thing, it will just make it boring and stale.
You're right, Matt. You're right. You've convinced me. In a very roundabout way. You're right.
Let's give the players a break and let's make some more childhood World Cup memories. I look forward to the Collins Animal World Cup 2019 this summer.
All right, I will try and restage it this summer.
I'm looking forward to it. Motion rejected. And with that is podcast completed. I just made that in my head. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. As usual, we apologise for how late this is. We are going to do the next one earlier. That is just, I'm not standing for this anymore. We will record this and we'll get out earlier. Although, to be fair, you were sick and I broke my hand. But that's beside the point.
And I lost a foot in the Marshall Islands.
Of course you did, to a badger. Yeah, so we've all been suffering this month, but we still did it because we're still here, and we've got to remember January and everything else. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. If you have anything you'd like to discuss with us on any matters on this month of the podcast, please do add our Twitter handles. I am at MTH Simpson.
I am at OGB Collins.
Or you can find us on YouTube or indeed on iTunes. Please subscribe, download, have a look through our extensive back catalogue on there as well, or any other places that you will find podcasts. There's a lot of work gone into these, and we're very proud of them. But we'll be moving on to February next month, as is tradition, following January, strangely enough, where we'll have more games, goals, talking points, irreverence, insight, analysis, chat, dumb features, and anything else we can cobble together in 5 minutes.
You make it sound so good.
It doesn't it just? But until then, thank you very much for listening once again. And until next time, stay safe, everyone.
Cheerio.
Oh, I am a Liverpudlian, and I come from the Spion Cup. I love to sing, I love to shout, I get thrown out quite a lot. We support the team that's dressed in red. It's a team that you all know. It's a team that we call Liverpool, and to glory